服持ってるな。あんたには似合わないよ。
約束する。
Welcome to Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The series is set in a dystopian future where humans and technology have merged to create a world of violence, corruption, and advanced cybernetic implants. The story follows a group of street kids known as Edgerunners who are hired to complete various dangerous and illegal tasks in the city known as Night City. The first episode begins with a sweeping aerial shot of Night City's neon-lit skyscrapers, showcasing a dazzling top-down view of Corpo Plaza at night. In a brief moment, the camera focuses on Nusa Military Lieutenant Colonel James Norris before transitioning to a crime scene in progress. Over the sounds of police chatter, the scene cuts to Norris, heavily outfitted with cyberware, going cyber psycho and shooting a cop through the window of his car. As he relentlessly attacks the remaining NCPD officers, Norris activates his Sandevistan. However, MaxTac quickly intervenes, expertly hacking Norris' system and ultimately neutralizes him. The audience subsequently comes to the realization that the action they witnessed was, in fact, a brain dance. This revelation is followed by the introduction of David Martinez, who has just viewed Norris's memory of the violent occurrence in his mother's apartment. It is at this point that Doc reaches out to David, acknowledging that he had obtained the BD directly from the skilled editor, Jimmy Kurosaki. As a new morning dawns, David is fixated on his wet school uniforms tumbling in the washing machine. He seeks out his mother, who works as an emergency medical technician, in the living room to discuss a financial matter. Gloria is willing to fund David's necessary update for his class, but he insists that Doc has already helped him with this issue and there is no need to worry. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by Network News 54, which delivers the shocking news of Lieutenant Colonel James Norris' death and missing cyberware. Despite the tragic news, David is excited to see his mother appear on TV. However, her uneasiness hints at something more concerning. She quickly ends the program and sends David off to school. Before the scene transitions to David on his way to school, Gloria makes a call to someone named Maine, but the audience is left in the dark about the details of their conversation. The sudden shift in focus leaves the viewer wondering about the significance of this call. David is first seen wandering through the crowded and run-down streets while listening to an upbeat tune. At one point, he catches a glimpse of a girl with white hair, but before he can approach her, she disappears into the sea of people. Upon arriving at Arasaka Academy, David's AI teacher immediately chides him for not wearing his uniform. However, his arrival is not met with warm regards as Katsuo Tanaka, a privileged student, launches a verbal attack on David and belittles his tech knowledge. Despite the criticism, David remains confident and boasts about his ways of obtaining the expensive Wreath update. Regrettably, David's confidence quickly dwindles in the subsequent meditation session. Moreover, his illegal software causes considerable harm to the system, culminating in a catastrophic outcome. In spite of his ardent attempts, David cannot rectify the issue and is ultimately left with a sense of defeat. The next scene begins as Gloria and David find themselves in the principal's office, a situation that is incredibly embarrassing for Gloria. The principal starts questioning Gloria about her financial situation and calls out David's misbehavior in class, strongly suggesting that it would be better for him to leave Arasaka Academy. Despite this, Gloria insists that David has every right to attend the school and promises to cover the cost of the repairs. As they make their way home in their car, Gloria's anger towards David only intensifies, and they continue to discuss the situation until David finally reaches the conclusion that he has no future at Arasaka. Gloria is heartbroken by this realization since she wants nothing more than for David to succeed in life. She even takes on extra work hours to support him, but it seems like it's all for nothing. Suddenly, the ride comes to an abrupt end when a gang vehicle from the animals pulls up beside them and opens fire. Despite Gloria's best efforts to avoid it, their car collides with another, and David is left buried under the wreckage with flames licking at his skin. In the distance, he can see his mother lying on the street, adding to his already immense sense of horror and despair. As the trauma team arrives on the scene, David and Gloria both hope for a chance at first aid, but they are denied since they are not clients of the service. The scene that follows depicts David's successful attempt to rescue his mother and take her to a dilapidated hospital where she undergoes surgery. Once the operation is complete, the surgeon hands David a bag containing his mother's belongings, though she must remain in the hospital. Upon arriving back at their apartment, David is hit with the realization that they have fallen behind on rent and the apartment is locked. In a bold move, he decides to break in through a window. As he rummages through the bag, he comes across Norris's Sandevistan, the very same cyberware that was missing from the Cyber Cycle incident earlier in the episode. Without hesitation, he offers the implant to Doc, but the Ripper Doc is only willing to pay a mere 10k for it, causing David to become enraged and hang up the call. Driven by curiosity, David begins to research the implant further. The next scene commences with the following morning as David embarks on his journey to school once more. As he sets out, his mind drifts back to the captivating image of the girl with the dancing white hair that he had caught a glimpse of the day before. However, this time the image transforms into the disapproving countenance of Katsuo, and David's heart sinks. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What is the best duo in anime? For me, it's gotta be CC and Lelouch, probably Makise and Okabe. Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out with your answer, and now back to the recap. As David turns into an alley, he finds himself face to face with Katsuo, who begins to bully him once more. With brute force, Katsuo unleashes his strong arms 400 with martial arts chipware and beats David up mercilessly. David is left wounded and broken, collapsing in the alleyway. The clinic notifies David of his mother's untimely demise, and he is left reeling from the news. Overwhelmed with grief, he takes his mother's cremated remains, donning her EMT jacket, and wanders the night city streets. As he walks, David is bombarded with a plethora of voice messages. One such message is from the principal, who expresses his condolences and provides payment details that Gloria had sent prior to her death. In the same breath, he brings up the subject of David's potential transfer to another institution. As David returns home to the apartment with the ashes, he is rightfully depressed. However, his mood quickly changes as he offers the illegal cyberware to Doc once again, only to have the offer denied. Doc states that he would now only pay $6,000 for it. This news devastates David, and he finds himself unable to cope with the situation. To make matters worse, a call from Katsuo adds insult to injury as he mocks David's mother's death. In his anger and grief, David's eyes suddenly focus on the cyberware in the bag, and he sees his chance for revenge. After some convincing, Doc finally agrees to install the Sandevistan, which grants David superhuman strength, speed, and reflexes. With his new abilities, David returns to school and beats up Katsuo in full view of the security cameras. Unfortunately, this results in his expulsion from the academy. However, Katsuo's father Tanaka, an Arasaka executive, notices David's use of the Sandevistan and sees him as a valuable test subject for Arasaka's latest product. As David aimlessly wanders the city, he meets Lucy, a young netrunner who agrees to take him on as a partner. Together, they spend a night pickpocketing marks on the subway, but David collapses due to overuse of the Sandevistan. Concerned for his well-being, Lucy takes him back to Doc, who prescribes immunosuppressants and warns David not to use the Sandevistan more than 2 or 3 times a day, regardless of his high tolerance for it. Lucy invites David to her apartment, where she confides in him about her dream of migrating off-world to the moon. She even shows him a virtual reconstruction of the moon's surface. However, things take a turn for the worse when Lucy reveals that she has sold David out to a gang of Edgerunners. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out one of our viewers. Big thanks to Tanjiro Boy for saying, "The anime with the best ending would be Tokyo Ghoul because it has a happy ending." Thanks for answering the question of the day. Now, back to the recap. David is confronted by the gang, led by a man named Maine. Maine reveals that Gloria had sold the Sandevistan to him a day before her death, and that he is one of her acquaintances. Initially surprised, David reveals that he's Gloria's son and offers to work for Maine. He demonstrates his compatibility with the Sandevistan, hoping to gain Maine's trust. Intrigued by David's offer, Maine honors his friendship with Gloria by giving David a chance to prove himself. After the confrontation, David returns home with a heavy heart, as he has lost his trust in Lucy. However, the next day, David meets up with the gang again, and Maine introduces him to the other members, Kiwi, Dorio, and Pilar. Together, they plan a heist to steal navigation data from Maxim, a driver for Arasaka. Unfortunately, their plan goes awry due to unexpected complications. David and Lucy are forced to steal Maxim's limo to gain the data they need. Fortunately, Maine rescues them from a Tiger Claw biker sent by Maxim to kill them. David's performance on the job impresses Maine, and he officially inducts David into the gang. David also meets Maine's fixer, Faraday, who brought them the job of stealing Maxim's navigation data to obtain information on Tanaka's movements. Shortly after, David receives a message from the Academy offering to let him return. However, he bluntly turns them down, feeling that he has found a sense of purpose and belonging with Maine and the gang. As a new recruit, David is not only learning the ropes of the gang, but also developing close relationships with his fellow members. He receives training and guidance from them, which involves a variety of tasks such as running errands for Pilar and Rebecca, honing his driving skills with Maine, and jogging at night with Lucy. In addition, David actively participates in various jobs with the crew, such as taking down a group of scavengers, rescuing Rebecca from the dangerous Maelstrom gang, and assisting Lucy with her pickpocketing skills. Despite spending a lot of time with Lucy, David admits to Maine that he has feelings for her but is unsure if his affection is reciprocated. As time passes, David begins to feel more at ease with his new family. However, their sense of security is shattered when Pilar gets into a fatal altercation with a cyberpsycho. The homeless man, who is being harassed by Pilar, suddenly reveals himself to be a threat and takes Pilar's life with a concealed weapon. In the face of danger, David springs into action and uses his Sandevistan to shoot the cyberpsycho while Maine finishes him off. The experience leaves David feeling shaken, but he's able to pull himself together and take Lucy home to safety. There, Lucy confides in David about her deepest desire, to go to the moon. Overwhelmed with emotion, David promises to fulfill her dream, and the two share a passionate kiss. Finally, my boy is on his way to becoming the Rizzler. Just kidding. Check out the second installment in our recap for Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Don't forget to like and subscribe.